Should Tennessee and other schools be worried about Auburn? Why Auburn? Why the Tigers, Caleb Calhoun?
Guys, Auburn is on an absolute roll on the recruiting trail. And as we've talked about Tennessee on the recruiting trail, rightfully so, because what Tennessee has done recently has been incredibly impressive. Just out of the blue, Auburn decided, you know what? We can do that. And Pastor Hugh Freeze is preaching those great Christian values, Dave, and players want to be a part of those Christian values of Hugh Freeze. And sorry, we're going to say something.
I sense some sarcasm as we both have some moral issues with Hugh Freeze. Looking at Auburn's commitment list, they have 1 5-star defensive lineman and Malik Autry. Those are the type of guys that will keep you in contention for championships. So go ahead and tell you that. However, I wonder how much it will actually factor Tennessee. A lot of their prospects are from Tennessee. Now, they went in to get Donovan Starr, a 4-star cornerback out of Ravenwood in Brentwood, Tennessee. I wouldn't be as worried about them going into Nashville as I would be worried about Auburn going into, given my history and covering recruiting, going in and competing for the same guys in the Atlanta area. For instance, they have the offensive tackle Tavares Dice from Fairburn, Georgia. They've got a kid from Alpharetta, Peachtree City. So that would be my bigger concern. Now, they also have a couple of guys out of Maryland, which Tennessee wants to go there as well. I think you want as little competition in Atlanta as you can get. Problem is that cat's out of the bag, Caleb.
Yes, and it's probably going to get bigger now because what Auburn has done recently is shore up a lot of their home area recruiting, beating Alabama for guys, which that momentum will translate nationally. So over a 3-day period from July the 27th to July the 29th, Auburn picked up 5 commitments. 4 of them were blue chips. 4 of them were from Alabama. They flipped an Alabama commitment in that time. And guys, it's not like Kalen DeBoer's not recruiting well. So the scary part, if you're Tennessee, you bring this up. This is all connected. These things aren't mutually exclusive. If Auburn is doing well on the recruiting trail in one area, they're going to do well elsewhere because guess what? Buzz travels. And other kids will see that school's doing well in recruiting. So recruiting momentum is a thing. Okay, like y'all can, it's not silly. Like you pick up, the more 5-stars you pick up, the more likely you are to pick up more 5-stars. And that's just how that works. Other kids get interested. Auburn, by shoring up their base and getting a top 10 class, becoming a top 5 caliber class, they're going to be more of a factor in Georgia going forward. And here's where it gets real scary. Dave, one of the ways Tennessee builds their program is to go into Georgia and get guys. But they try to pick off kids from Georgia. That's how Auburn's always built their program, right? Is they tried to pick off some kids away from the Bulldogs. If they start doing that consistently, watch out. There's just not enough room for everybody. There's not enough to go around. And
so are you suggesting this could be good for Tennessee because they win some battles against Georgia? Is that what you're saying? Excuse me?
I'm saying it could be bad for Tennessee because some battles they would win against Georgia, Auburn is winning against Georgia instead.
I agree. Yeah, so we're on the same page there. And I think that Auburn, it's just a nice little 2-hour drive from a lot of places in the Atlanta area. And you just don't want Auburn to be good. My question is this. What's the better recruiting pitch? Regardless of position, Josh Heupel says, I'm going to build something great. I'm going to win championships. Or is the better recruiting pitch that you get to play sooner if you come to Auburn because their roster is not great? I mean, I think ultimately that will make up a lot of prospects' minds. Now, do they get into the moral side of it? If they do, then I don't think you can be a big Hugh Freeze fan.
That's my question: is how much of a factor is that? Because look, Dave, you were covering him at Ole Miss. The moral side of it conned a lot of parents, didn't it? A
Yes.
lot of parents tried to steer their kids to Auburn because they loved, or to Ole Miss because they loved Hugh Freeze's. I know this, guys. Jonathan Kongbo seriously considered Ole Miss because of Hugh Freeze's fake moral stances that he took all the time. I think that I think it could work against him now because let's be honest, there's nothing people hate more than someone who throws their morals and religion in your face, but that's a hypocrite about it. There's like nobody that's more annoying in America than somebody like that, you know. And so, I mean, I can't stand those type of people. I think what would hurt Hugh Freeze more is how this is documented because this is actually what got him caught in the first place. Is how he tried to lie to his players at Ole Miss to keep them locked into scholarships and throw his previous coach under the bus. All of that he knew was going to be proven false, but after it was proven false, the players were locked in and signed to Ole Miss anyway. So that willingness to trick players into making a decision about their future, that is where the negative recruiting should work, right? That this guy will lie to you and trick you into making a bad decision for your future to help himself.
That, and listen, if you don't have a burner phone that you can forward information about other, because you don't want to ever be the coach that brings up another coach's shortcomings. I had a very wise recruiter one time tell me, you never say you don't want to go there because blah, blah, blah. Then you're down 14 points. But I would have a burner phone if I were this coach at another school, whether it be Tennessee or wherever, and I would send him some of the more salacious things that were reported about Hugh Freeze from that burner phone. And then you wouldn't know it was me, but you saw it.
Yeah. What
That's probably, but back in the day, you'd leave a newspaper at their front door.
What if, and just something crazy like this, what if you have a younger sister and you send the story of Hugh Freeze at Briarcrest telling women to take off their shirts and sit in their brawl because they weren't in their proper uniform? And you got a younger sister and you're an athlete. All of a sudden, that would be a thing, wouldn't it? And so
I would think so. Was that widely reported? I've heard a lot of things about Hugh
AL.com.
Freeze.
Yes, AL.com reported it. And I'm just going to say Briarcrest was in Memphis. It was Hugh Freeze was coaching there when I was in high school. I knew a couple people that thought he was very, very creepy. And basically what would happen is they allege, and this is what AL.com reported was, women who went to high school at Briarcrest when he was there alleged that if they didn't have their proper uniform, one woman said she didn't have her proper uniform on, so he made her come into his office, take off her shirt, sit in her bra, and wait until her proper uniform shirt was brought to school.
Yeah, that seems inappropriate. Yeah,
I'm not an underage woman.
I'm not a big fan of that. Aside from that, which is a big aside, are you surprised that Auburn is as hot as they are? Auburn now number 5 in recruiting. I'm not, and I'm kind of ashamed of myself for not seeing it coming, because who was the master of paying players before it was legal? Hugh Freeze, who's always been a good talent evaluator despite all of his other issues that he might have. Hugh Freeze does like ankles. That's how he judges prospects. That's very true, Derek. I don't know if I said that or you got that from someplace else. We shouldn't be surprised. As a matter of fact, if you told me that Auburn in 3 years will be a recruiting juggernaut, and I define that by top 5 annually, or it will be an also ran, which I define as 5 to 25, I would have to take juggernaut.
I would too. And there's 2 factors that are going in. Maybe 3. There's actually 3 factors that are going into play.
We're both assuming that Hugh doesn't blow up his reputation again.
Yes, exactly.
That Chris Hansen doesn't walk up and say,
"Why don't you take a seat there?
Why don't you have a little seat up there? Why don't you sit down?"
I'm so ashamed that I used to love watching that show.
Yeah, what are the wine coolers for?
So there's a bunch of factors that play with Auburn. Whatever you think of Hugh Freeze, he runs a cutting-edge offense, and he will put receivers in the NFL. And so what we're talking about this, Dave, if you're an aspiring wide receiver, you want to play in that's an offense that you want to play in, right? Sorry, it is. And so there's that. There's the other factor of, now I don't think this is as big because you're not really caring about Auburn if you're thinking about character, but where they start going into Georgia, do you not think, and this isn't just Auburn, this is Tennessee, this is Alabama, this is other schools, Georgia, Kirby Smart maybe losing control of the program just a little bit, a little concerned about that. That could happen.
Well, I mean, I think everybody should be concerned about that if you're at Georgia.
Another big one, and here's
so you're saying Auburn is getting a foothold because parents are concerned about Georgia?
Yes.
That recency bias is having them line up.
They want to go play for pass for Hugh.
The lack of morality at one school, and they can't Google and not get the other. I'm going to say if a parent cares that much that he's going to know what Hugh Freeze did, just like you need to know about work trucks. They're all about trucks that are actually available. I love you, but that's a reach. Trucks.
I got a better one when you're done with this.
All right. Trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle now. Time is money. We can't get that 10 seconds back from Caleb. The perfect work truck doesn't break down and has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do that. Contracting is about time, guys. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is also quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for work trucks. Cargo vans, utility body trucks with the Napa hide work bodies are installed. They've got cranes, dump trucks as well. No dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, you need to know Work Trucks. That's a fact. Remember, Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com, WorkTrucksLLC.com, Work Trucks with an X. Clinton Highway in Knoxville, downtown Birmingham, WorkTrucksLLC.com. Proud supporters of the Vols. All right, what's your other crazy one?
My other crazy one is not crazy, okay? It's one that's actually benefiting Tennessee too. Clemson's collapsing as a program. Auburn and Clemson fought for similar Georgia recruits all the time, and Clemson is falling apart.
I was ready to blast you.
That's hot.
But that's kind of good.
That's Hugh Freeze loves hearing Paris Hilton say that. But sorry. The other one I got to bring up is, look, they're still recruiting well. You and I are very impressed by what Kalen DeBoer is doing. But Alabama's not recruiting Nick Saban level because they're not going to recruit Nick Saban level. And so that means there will be at least a couple of Alabama kids that they can get that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten.
Don't forget this as well, that some of these recruiting analysts have big audiences in Alabama because they won, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 89 championships over the past 10 years. So they're going to be higher rated than other prospects because it makes the fan base happier. And that's going to continue for a couple, 3 years until Kalen DeBoer flames out, which he may never flame out. But if he does, then it will adjust itself. But trust me, that happens.
That absolutely happened.
Happened with Lane Kiffin. Some of those guys got increased ratings because he was good to work with in the media.
And Lane Kiffin was a great salesman on how he signed like the greatest players ever that he wanted when he was at Tennessee. I will never forget that.
Yes. Travis asked an interesting question. Maybe we save this for tomorrow, but Clemson and Tennessee can't coexist. As champions, can they?
They haven't ever. I'm not so sure they can. Tennessee's fall is directly related to Clemson's rise, but it's not just Clemson. I want to be clear on that. It is I don't think, and I think you're with me on this, Dave, when things happen, it's not a binary, like this one thing happened and that changed everything, right? It was a collection of things. Tennessee's fall started when Mark Richt went to Georgia. That was the first step. Then Steve Spurrier went to South Carolina. Then Clemson got good under Dabo Swinney. And that combination of things, where could Tennessee go recruit? I mean, Clemson ended up stealing players out of Tennessee. That's more on Butch Jones. You lose T. Higgins, Amari Rodgers, and Trevor Lawrence all should have been Vols. There was no reason to lose those guys to Clemson. But that's going to go down as the biggest recruiting fail in Tennessee history. letting those 3 guys to go to Clemson, and Clemson winning a national title with them.
We had that. I thought it was Randall Cobb or Patrick Willis, right?
That's the biggest recruiting miss by Tennessee ever. But this is like, these weren't misses. I think Butch Jones wanted them. He just lost out on them to Clemson. He lost out on T. Higgins. T. Higgins flipped to Clemson before Clemson even won a national title.
Oh, he did.